We are also streaming live on YouTube, on our channel for YouTube. That is Coach Samuel Ivanda channel. So you should be able to access that video there. Let me just confirm that. Okay. All right. So we are here. Thank you so much, everyone that have joined in. If you can hear me, could you just confirm that you can hear me in the chat box? You just type that you can hear me. Darius, are you able to hear me?
Yes, Samuel, I'm able to hear you.
Okay. All right. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining through the session. And thanks so much our speaker for coming through. So just want to make sure that everything is set up. All right. So welcome to this session. And thank you so much for joining in. My name is Coach Samuel Ivanda, and I'm humbled to be hosting this session with my good friend Darius Nkwasiwe. So Darius is a human resource business partner at MTN Uganda. And he also happens to be a certified financial literacy trainer by Bank of Uganda. So he's joining us as our guest today that I'm going to discuss with this topic. Myself, I know that we have some of you that follow me, but I also just introduce myself. So my name is Coach Samuel Ivanda, and I'm a career growth mentor as well as a finance and business coach. So this session is brought to you by BACS Africa in conjunction with the Transformational Professionals Club. So those are the two entities that are bringing this live to you. So I'm much humbled to have you. Darius, are you there?
Yes, Samuel, I am around. Let me share my screen, my video, I mean.
Okay, right there. Good to have you, Darius. We can see you very well. Thank you so much once again for creating time for this. And thanks so much our viewers for dedicating time to be here so that we can be able to learn from each other. So we are going to get down into the subject of strategies that could help us build wealth as employees. And this is irrespective of how much you're earning, because we believe that when it comes to wealth creation, it's irrespective of how much you're earning. You can also be able to do a lot of things. Darius, your camera is off. I just want to highlight that to you. Okay. Yes. So for me, having Darius here is one of the best decisions because he's the gentleman to discuss with this topic very well. Darius, how has been your day?
Thank you, Sam. My day
Yes.
has been fantastic.
Okay.
I was
Good to
looking
hear.
forward to this session. The only
Yeah.
bad thing about it is that Uganda Cranes lost its match.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
generally, it has been a fantastic day. Nice to be here.
Okay, we thank God. I know that Uganda Cranes has lost, but nevertheless, we are happy that despite the loss, we are actually going to play in the African Cup of Nations, which is very exciting for us. So that is very wonderful for us as a country. I know we have other people who are joining from different countries, so I don't know how your countries have done. But nevertheless, I'm glad that we are here to discuss this noble discussion. So Darius, I would like to just hear from you. When we speak about wealth creation, what comes to your mind? But before that, even as we get into that, I know that I've talked about you from the perspective of being an HR business partner as well as a finance literacy coach. I want us just to give you a chance to be able to tell us who you are that maybe people may not be able to know that could help us even as we think through this kind of subject.
All right. Thank you, Samuel.
Over to you, Darius.
Thank you. I lost you a bit, but I want to believe you were asking me to briefly introduce myself. First of all, I would like to say that I'm very delighted to be here to speak to your audience about matters financial literacy and particularly wealth creation strategies for employees. Like you said, my name is Darius Nkwasiwe. I'm very passionate about financial literacy, and because I'm passionate about financial literacy, I undertook the certificate course from Bank of Uganda, the financial literacy training of trainers. But that was long after I had realized that I had this passion to help people get better with their finances. Professionally, I'm an HR professional, and I currently work with MTN Uganda, where I serve as manager, HR business partner. Before that, I was working for a consultancy firm where I picked this interest to empower people and work with them more. But also, besides my work, I'm a Toastmaster and a member at Kampala Sunrise, where we help people to become better speakers through effective public speaking. I also love serving humanity, and I'm a past president at the Rotary Club of Rubaga, where I am also still a member. I am very delighted to be here, and I look forward to an insightful session as I interact with you as well as the audience that is here to listen to us. I think that's briefly about me. Maybe if there's anything I may have left out, I look forward to sharing some of the insights about myself as we get along in the session. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you, Darius, for sharing about your work with humanity and your previous experience as well. That helped. I was trying to reflect about this session, and I was saying Darius is a human resource person who developed interest for financial literacy. And here I am. I'm a finance person who has interest in aspects of career and inclining myself on human resource. So we are doing basically the reverse. I don't know if we are in wrong professions or I don't know, but I know that each of the two sides are able to complement each other. Even being a human resource person, I know that you interact with employees, but you're also an employee yourself. So when we speak about personal finance, no one is actually excluded from this kind of conversation. So even as today, we are here basically to speak about what are some of those strategies that we can use to grow wealth. I want to again ask you, Darius, can you share with us a bit about your journey as an employee in building wealth, and what are some of those steps that have you've made that have really brought significant difference in your personal finance journey?
All right. Thank you, Samuel. And I'm very delighted to be sharing my story and some of those strategies that I have used, or some of those strategies that I am employing. To start with, I think it's very important to mention that I am still on this journey. And I must say that it's not a journey that I look forward to stopping soon. And I would also be lying if I said that I have all the answers that maybe each person might have here. And I also wish to state that as we start, it is very important to know that we have different life journeys, and sometimes the journey may not be as straightforward. So I will not have the same answers that someone else might have gone through or that someone might expect. But what I can say is that I'll share my story, what has worked for me and what I'm seeing working for me. And then maybe as we get along, I'll also share some of the challenges that I am meeting on the way. But first of all, my journey as a person started when I realized that, first of all, I needed to get my finances in order. When I had just finished university and I was starting out my career, I made some of the decisions which I later realized that maybe were hindering me. But then I realized that as an employed person who was salaried, I needed to get my finances in order. Luckily for me, along the journey, I also picked strong interest in financial literacy. So when the two combined, then the journey started for me. But the first thing was to, first of all, assess where I was, because now I had made a decision to say that, you know what, I would like to improve my finances and my financial journey so that I can maybe be prepared. One of my motivating factors was that I want to have a comfortable retirement later when I reach the end. So what I did was to ensure that one, I take track of my finances. How was I doing? And then one of the strategies I started with was to ensure that I now had a budget. And this budget was the one that was going to guide me. And this budget was basically to help me track my finances. I used an app called Money Manager, and it is this app that was helping me track. Once I realized that now I was able to track my finances in order, I knew what was coming in, I knew what was going out. Then I started some bit of saving because now I was being more intentional. I started some bit of saving. Every month, a particular amount of my salary was going towards savings. And then along the way, when the savings started growing, I made sure that I started investing. This is something, again, like I said, it's a journey. It's something that I have been doing and I continue to do. When I realized that the journey had started, okay, like I mentioned earlier, I was now more conscious. I was educating myself, learning, and also hearing from other people that were on this same journey as me. They are employed, but they are saving and they're investing. I started asking myself, what are some of those assets that I can start to invest in that will generate money for me? One of the key things was land. Then I thought about unit trusts. I thought about government bills and treasury bonds. And then later along the journey, I started investing in shares on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Then, of course, as a person who was on a journey to being financially literate and being intentional about this journey, I also started thinking, how can I earn some money besides my work? So those are some of the steps I have taken and that I continue to take. Again, I must emphasize that for me, it is a journey. And I understand that I am not yet where I want to be, but Am I on the right track? Definitely yes. Do I see where the end is? Definitely yes. Am I meeting challenges along the way as I walk this journey? Yes. Sometimes I fall back, but because of the intentionality, I always come back, get myself on track, and continue to ensure that I'm on track to achieve some of the wealths that I set out to achieve. Again, as I finish my response to your question, I must mention that one of the other things that I learned from one of my mentors is that while you're looking at finances as your wealth, or the wealth that you're seeking to create, there are other forms of wealth that cannot be forgotten. So I also think about my health, my social wealth, as well as my time wealth. I guess these are some of the things that we'll talk about as we walk along into the journey. But basically, that is how I started. First of all, being conscious about my journey to wealth creation, then starting to track my finances, what is coming in, what is going out, being intentional about saving, then identifying assets that I can start to invest in, and then finally realizing that I can always come back and reevaluate how am I doing despite the challenges that come through. Over to you, Samuel.
Thank you so much, Darius. As you were mentioning about your strategies, you reminded me the time when you used to do the saving challenge for some of the members in the Personal Finance Mastery group, and how that really was really creating impact even among the members. And for, like you shared, I think you saying that you're not moving a perfect kind of journey, you've not figured everything out, but you're in the process. And I think that is something that is quite important, even for me as an employee, knowing that I may not have figured out everything. And I know that every one of us has not figured out. Money is more like is life in itself. At least no one wakes up and says, I've figured out everything in life, because life keeps on evolving and a lot of things keep on changing here and there. So when you say you've not figured this out, I think that resonates with myself, and I don't know what if it does that also with our audience. And then also for me, what I also share with you as well, I know that we join employment with all this mindset of we are going to earn. And we also have this kind of future in our brains of we want to make sure that we really get to some of those achievements, either build a house, either buy a car, get married, be able to afford a holiday somewhere. Basically, the best things that what someone may call maybe the Ugandan dream or whatever. So there are quite a number of things that we really have aspirations for. And I think being intentional about your financial independence all starts from that point in time when you realize that, okay, I'm earning this amount of money, but what does this money mean for me as an individual? And even as I continue through my life within employment, or even as I do whatever I have to do, what are some of the goals that I want to achieve as an individual? And what am I actually going to do along the journey to actually achieve those kind of goals? And then you now start onto the actions, which you've mentioned some of those things. So when you're trying to mention about your journey, it was resonating with myself as well, how I started along the journey, but also how I got to a point in time where I knew that, okay, I'm earning a salary, and this salary, despite it being small, because we all agree that salary may not really grow at a rate at which our expenses may grow. I need to be able to achieve certain things within my life. So I resonated with your response. So in your journey, as you've mentioned about, I think you've mentioned about investing in shares. You've mentioned about also quite a number of other things. I also want just to inquire from you, what are some of those? I know that you're an HR person. And from your human resource point of view, you've interacted with quite a number of employees, even out away from yourself. And you've also seen some of the mistakes some of maybe employees have made in the journey of investment. I want request you to be able to come through to share with us what are some of those investments that you could recommend to somebody who is an employee. And from this perspective, why I emphasize employee is investments that resonate with the character of an employee, not a business person. And then are there also special opportunities that you see in the current era that you believe could actually be of great potential for anyone who is looking at investing, but also growing their wealth?
All right. Thank you, Samuel. That's an interesting question. And like I said, first of all, I must emphasize there is no one size fits it all in terms of the kinds of investments that you can take on. But I think you've tried. I think your question is trying to specifically speak to someone who is employed somewhere and maybe they have a full-time job that they are seeking to, and then they are seeking investments. So first of all, it is very important that as an employee, you understand what is your risk appetite as you seek to invest, what are some of the goals, then also what is your income, because some of these things affect to what extent you can invest in certain asset classes. So for example, if you're earning very low and then you start to invest maybe in stocks, at the start the returns of the return on investment may not be that high. So also you may not say that you're going to invest in prime land because it will be very expensive for you, and sometimes it can discourage if that is your strategy. Also in terms of your risk appetite, so you cannot say that you're a low income earner. Let's say you're an employee who is at who is a low cadre, and maybe you're starting out your career, because I also want to balance. Some people who are starting their careers, people who are in the mid, and then people who are more advanced 10 years and above. You could find that you have less money at your disposal for investment, and therefore you don't want it to put it in a high risk portfolio like cryptocurrencies that are highly volatile, and you could lose your money. The most important thing that you could do as an employee is, having understood your income level, your risk appetite, and then of course your knowledge as well, I would say that you've looked at your goals, consider a diversified portfolio. So have a number of asset classes that you are looking at. So the first one, and of course I'm keeping in mind the aspect of your question that is asking for someone who is an employee. Consider assets that will not require your time. This is where aspects like treasury bills and bonds or fixed income assets come in. One thing about government securities is that once you've signed up that CSD account with your primary bank, you won't need to go there and monitor again. So your time is not required. So once you do that, once you've signed up, and then maybe you say that because government issues its securities every 2 weeks, you'd say that once I have maybe a standing order, I have an instruction with my bank, that is not something that you're going to monitor highly. And one thing I like about government securities is that they are less risky. You can be 99% sure that the government will pay back. At least I think there is only one government that I read about world over that has ever defaulted on securities. So you can be sure that even as an employee, as you're working, if you've invested in government securities, you can be sure that your return is going to come. And for many government securities, specifically for Uganda, for the audience that is from Uganda, They're always, especially the treasury bonds, they're always in double digits. So that's going to work for you. The other is real estate. One of the things and one of the easiest, which many of us, I know many of us when we start earning, that we look at is land. So you buy land now and you can be sure that in few years from now, it is going to appreciate. Of course, you have to be aware that it may not be overnight, but over time it is going to appreciate. Sometimes when you're just starting out, you as a person may not be able to afford to purchase land, but you can combine efforts. For example, when I had just graduated from university around 2015,
yes,
I combined with some colleagues of mine that we had just graduated with, and we started an investment club. One of the asset classes that we invested in then was land. And over time, now the land that we bought then as part of our investment club has started to appreciate in value. Land that we bought at 10 million at that time, we are now able to sell at around 17, 20 million, 22 million. Land that we bought at 15 million as a group, we are now able to sell at 25 or so million. So that is also another area that you can look at. Once so if you don't have the finances as an individual employee, you can combine with your friends, with your colleagues, with people in your circles, and you can invest in that. It will work for you. It will also want to require your time, because once you've bought land, you don't need to monitor it always. That means that you can focus in your workplace, as well as you can focus in your workplace, but your land is appreciating. The other thing, and this is where we sometimes need to be open to opportunities. I have personally had an opportunity to invest in some rentals, but these are not my own houses. And this is why I say that sometimes we have to be very open with how opportunities come through. So one day I was there, someone comes to me and says, Darius, I would like you to lend me some money. So I asked the person, so what kind of collateral are you going to give me? At that time, the person told me, I have some rooms, I could give them to you, and then you collect rent from the tenants. And then over time, this person now kept referring me to others. So now I found that I have some rentals where I am able to collect money on a monthly. They not necessarily belong to me, but to some extent, that is part of investment in real estate. The other thing that won't require much of your time as an employee, you could invest in stocks or shares, particularly, again, I'll speak to the Ugandan audience, but if someone is coming out of Uganda, in your country, you most likely have a securities exchange that regulates the buying and selling of shares. It's something that I've taken on, and most recently, when MTN Uganda issued its IPO, I purchased shares. If you remember well, by that time, a share was being sold at 200 Ugandan shillings when we purchased the shares then. But then MTN has been generous with its dividend policy that in a year, at least we receive dividends 3 times. So that means that I've been receiving dividends without necessarily me monitoring every time how MTN is performing. I am lucky that I work for MTN, so I always know how it is performing. But from the side of investment perspective, I don't need to be worried about what is happening, because the dividends come in a way that is kind of passive. So I do not have to be monitoring everything. So that would also be a good asset class for someone who is employed. Then, of course, over time, I can, for those of us who invested in the MTN shares, we are now smiling. First, the share went down, but now we see it appreciating, and we are very much happy about that. Of course, these are some of the things that you would have to have in mind, that for some of these asset classes, they are volatile. Now, like the shares, There's a time the MTN share went as down as 165 Ugandan shillings, and people were crying, things like that. But now we are seeing it appreciating, and we know that if you're in it for the long, then you're able to make some money because you'll see it appreciating. Of course, it has just started appreciating, and we look forward to seeing how it performs. But that is it. And then there are some alternatives that are coming in most recently. The unit trusts are gaining popularity, and they are giving us lucrative returns, yet they're also passive in nature. So if you are an employee, you can invest your money in unit trusts, and then you will receive interest on a monthly basis for most of them, and it is compounded almost on a daily. So that is something that is very new and unique. Okay, not very new, but at least many people are starting to appreciate unit trust at the moment. So that works. That's another asset class that someone could invest in. The other thing that I think about, and I'll particularly give an example of something that is at my workplace. We have SACCOs. SACCOs are something that they are easy to join. And also, if you're not on the administrative side of the SACCOs, they do not require much work from you. At my workplace, we have a SACCO where employees are able to save on a monthly basis. And since I joined in 2019, there is no single year where we've gotten interest that is less than double digits at the end of every year. And there are very few investments that are able to give you double-digit interest at the end of every year. So for me, I also consider that as a form of investment, as long as I'm able to put my money there and then it comes through in a way of interest and it is double-digit. So I must say that as an employee, there are different options that you can always look at, but for the purpose of this meeting and the time that we have, I've just mentioned that land or real estate is something that you could look at. Also, stocks is something that you can look at. Government securities, it's something that you can look at. Unit trusts is something that you can look at. Investing in SACCOs or SACCO shares is something that you can look at. Of course, there are other aspects like side hustles. You could invest in someone's business and then they always offer you returns. And of course, for each of these, we could have a separate session, for example, to explain what does it mean to invest in shares as a topic on its own. But that's what I can say for now. And over to you, Samuel.
Okay, thank you so much, Darius. We are going to have a Q&A. So just make sure that you prepare your question. I'm going to be able to allow you ahead within our discussion. Darius, when you were mentioning about quite a number of investments that you've shared, and I know that we could have some participants who might be asking themselves, okay, these are good to have. Of course, a number of them, like the way you've indicated, they need understanding, because before you invest, you need to understand where you're putting your money. One of my principles to me is if I do not understand it, then I will not invest in it. And I know even when you speak about the latest ways of how to invest, people may have options around Bitcoin or other coins or other kind of investments to make. But the principle is, again, before you invest, make sure that you know what you're putting your money into. Even when it comes to the treasury bills and bonds, it's also very important for you to understand this as well. It's not as obvious as it is that when you invest money in treasury bills and bonds, basically the return comes directly. Because I know I've had investors who have said the returns have been eaten up by the costs, the transactional costs in the whole process. So that is one of the things that I just wanted to supplement. But in the same way, Darius, as we even discussed this, I know what really comes to the minds of people who are following through the session is, I do not have what to invest. What am I going to exactly do? So I want us to just draw back, and I know that you've just brought in the aspect of SACCOs, and I want to confess this, that SACCOs have been one of those avenues that have personally helped me to be able to grow a wealth. I've been able to construct my first house through the help of a SACCO. I've been able to do quite a number of things, including business through the SACCO and so on. So which I really recommend that if your employer has a SACCO in place, what the SACCO helps you is that it brings that culture of, I don't know what to call it, forced saving, but it's automatic saving, because this money is deducted off your account. And I know for many people, the biggest challenge for them is to save. I'm earning, but how can I save? And sometimes they even have genuine reasons why they are actually not saving, because either they are earning less, and that means that they cannot actually save. It is really understand when you see somebody, how much they earn and how much they spend on, they can't really find reasons or how to really save. So I want us to just get into this subject, Darius, from that perspective, that despite the investment options you've mentioned, there is an employee who is attending this session or is watching us on YouTube who is at zero at a point in time on 15th November, and they do not even have a single saving on their account. Where do they start from, even as we prepare for the next year, but also for these remaining days? Where do I start from?
All right. Thank you, Sam. And that is a very good point. Like you mentioned, I am an HR professional, and that means that sometimes I get an opportunity to interact with people around their finances. That I also get an opportunity to interact with people as they are seeking for assistance in things like salary advances. So I know what it means to be employed, and sometimes you can be there and you do not have finances to start from, even when you thought that, oh yes, I attended this session and I'm interested in starting investments. First of all, it's going to be very important for you to take some time and reflect on your finances. And by reflecting on your finances, first, you will understand your reality. After you've understood your reality and say, today is the 15th of November 2024. While I am on this journey, or I seek to start this journey of wealth creation, I do not have any finances on me. What happened? If I've been employed for long, where have my finances been going? Then draw back and say that now I would like to start a new path. A path where I will not reach the 15th of the next month and I'm still struggling. So once you've understood your reality, then have your goals. Then say that maybe in the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, this is where I would like to be in terms of my wealth creation journey, in terms of my investment, in terms of my finances. And then it's going to be very important that once you've taken that inventory through reflection, then start on aspects like budgeting. Make sure that as your income is coming through, you then know where it is going. First of all, where it is going to come from, and then where it is going to go. And then also start thinking as a person, is salary the only way I can earn? Where else can I find resources to utilize? Where else can I find resources to utilize to be able to start my wealth creation journey? So that's where you also maybe may have to go on, ask yourself, do I have skills that I can monetize? Is there a side hustle that I can start so that I can start to embark on this journey? You also need to ask yourself, are there people I can partner with so that we can have a pool of resources that we can utilize to invest? All these are questions that you will have to ask yourself and reflect on as a person. And also, when worst comes to the worst, is you ask yourself, are there opportunities I can take maybe to utilize good debt? And maybe later when we have some time, we can talk about debt. For example, the circle that I am in at the workplace, I am in like 3 circles, but specifically, right now I'm specifically talking about the circle at my workplace. It offers loans at very lucrative interest rates. So there is a time when we were at just 7%. You could take a loan at 7%. I was looking at that as free money, to be honest. Of course, later when the CBR was increased, it was also increased, but for most of the time it was in a single digit. And I knew that I could get that money in form of good debt and then be able to use it to invest in some of the assets that I have. Some of the land assets that I have really have been financed by the loans that I have gotten from here, and that jump started me. So for me, it's going to depend on your reality, but you being truthful to yourself and saying that this is not the kind of position I want to be in, therefore I must be intentional. So track your finances, ensure that a portion of it is going towards savings, then a portion of it is going towards your investment. If you have any debt, a portion of it is going towards ensuring that that debt is paid off. And then also asking yourself, is my salary the only way I can be earning? What other opportunities can I utilize to be able to earn more? So in brief, that is where you can start now if you feel that you're at zero. Over to you, Samuel.
Thank you, Darius, for that sharing. And I know that whoever is following through and you're at zero, I know that with salary, Darius, and I know quite a number of people will agree with me, if you're not intentional, by 15th, you're starting your debts. You're basically, the money that you received as salary is already done, and you're now starting debts. By the time they pay you around 25th or 26th or 30th, you've already consumed half of the salary already, which is really unfortunate. And I know that even as we speak about debt, one of the things that employees are doing is that sometimes, like the way you mentioned, good debt and bad debt, there are people who take on debt and this debt constrains them that even they cannot meet their day-to-day, let's say, needs. And that means that they are going to borrow to finance their day-to-day because they took on more debt because it was available. I'll give you an example. When I used to work with one of my employers who was an NGO, a very reputable employer, we used to have quite a number of banks walk in and they say, we can give you money up to 5 years. They can give you up to 100 millions. Even recently, somebody reached out to me and told me that, okay, you can actually get a loan now for 7 years and we could give you maybe over 150. Darius, I have a loan that I've serviced, I think in the past 5 years, but I've paid interest to the tune of over 30 million, which is really quite a lot of money. I've taken debt from say SACCOs, and the interest, like the way you indicated, is a bit low and friendly. So that is why right now I'm a bit struggle to borrow from banks because banks, I may not be able to really manage the interest rates. They're really high. But also one of the things that also Darius, and I see you've also mentioned it, is that somehow I'm yet to find an employee who has strictly developed without debt and without also maybe leveraging on SACCOs and just mere saving. Of course, there are people who are a bit disciplined, so it is much easier for them to be able to save and do. But if at all you struggle with saving, and definitely, of course, employment money that's coming from employment, salary is sometimes hard in terms of being able to put together to get something that is substantial. So taking, let's say, debt could be something of advantage to you that you may need to think. And I know there are people who have anxiety when it comes to debt. They basically want to grow organically. But yes, you could choose. If at all you want to grow organically, then you have to be disciplined when it comes to your savings. And you mentioned something about unit trust as one of those that avenues that are really upcoming and are really helpful. And I've seen quite a number of people use them, because some of the investments that you mentioned require you to have money all in less than one place for you to be able to, let's say, go and buy land or invest in a treasury bill and bonds. Treasury bills and bonds may require a minimum amount, a small amount, but there are other investments that may require you to have money altogether. So people are now using unit trust to build money that they can now invest in other platforms. So that is one of the things that I've really seen. So you do unit trust, and then from there you get that money and now invest it in, let's say, maybe shares, or invest it in let's say maybe real estate. So that is one thing I've really seen. Or else you could save with a SACCO, because SACCOs, in the same way, before they give you credit, they need to evaluate how you've saved with them. So you save with a SACCO, and then you're able to take credit, and then that credit is able to help you to be able to acquire, let's say, land, or to start construction, or to do whatever. So that is one thing that I've really seen. So I want to draw you back to one of the things that you've mentioned, Darius, that instead, I know that when you speak about saving, investment, sometimes we are constrained by what we earn. And I've heard you mention that you may need to now evaluate and see, how can I earn more? I'll give you something here to think about, Darius, even as you respond on that, is that our salaries do not grow at the same rate at which our expenses grow. And we also do not have control over our salaries, which means that the employer can wake up and say, things are not doing well, so we are going to cut your salaries to 50%. And we've seen that happen even during COVID. And we've also seen employers that wake up one day and say, it is done, we are restructuring, we no longer need you. So I want us to just hear from you, from your perspective. Again, I know that you are an HR person, and for organizations, some of the organizations I've worked with, when it comes to aspects of side hustles and earning on the side, that's a conversation that HR people are not really comfortable with. So I just want to hear from your side as an HR person, but also as an individual who is an employee. If there's someone who is listening in and would want to find ways of how they can earn, what are some of those options that they could be able to look at?
All right. Thank you, Samuel. And that's an interesting question. Just before I respond to the issue, to the aspect of so how can we increase, how can we increase our income through side hustles? I just wanted to briefly take you to the issue of debt that I mentioned about earlier. First of all, it is going to be very critical that if you consider debt as one of your options along the wealth creation journey, you distinguish between what is good and bad debt, and then see how good debt can support you. Of course, once you've understood the difference between the two, then you must definitely avoid bad debt and then go for good debt, and then it can always help you. Good debt is one that is going to help you to grow. Maybe you're getting it to invest it somewhere where you know that the returns are going to be higher than the interest that you're paying for that debt. And then bad debt on the other side is debt that most of us employees find ourselves in, that you get debt, but that is for consumption. That is to fund your lifestyle, your everyday expenses. That I call bad debt. So it must be very clear that while debt can sometimes come in to be helpful, if you have not made that distinction, it's going to affect you. And I also go back to distinguish on debt, good and bad debt, because I know that even as we talk about side hustles, it is something that can always come in one way or the other, because I know sometimes employees come to look for maybe come to look for additional money, but when you inquire, you realize that they're actually seeking to go and start side hustles, which they think will help to supplement their income. So to come specifically to this question, you mentioned that HR people do not want to hear about side hustles. Well, I think the HR of the current recognizes that people are not going to rely on only the job, but also they are going to look for avenues to create money, because the needs are always changing. So the aspect is that, so how do you create an environment where your employees feel that, yes, they will remain productive at your work, but should they choose to take on a side hustle, they will be able to take it on. If you realize the demography of our workforce at the moment, we have a lot of gig workers, we have a lot of people that are bored by just one job. So as the HR profession, we are growing to realize that you cannot tell your employees to say that they will only do your job. No, they will always do. So even the earlier we realize that and support employees to create side hustles, even the better. So what are some of those things that you could do as an employee? First of all, you need to realize that first of all, you as a person, you need to have that realization that creating multiple streams of income is no longer just an option. It's a must-have. Otherwise, because typically our salaries are not growing at the rate with which inflation is growing. That means that our expenses are always increasing. And for many of us, especially if you're young, you realize that maybe every other 2 years, you're having an additional member of the family. That means your expenses are growing. And you as a person, if your salary or if your income is not growing at that rate, you're going to be a loser, and you're going to find that you're going to be affected. The most important thing is to ensure that if you have a job that is giving you salary, or that has is your main source of income, how do you take on side hustles that that will not affect your primary job responsibilities? Because you could be lost in side hustles, and then it affects your job, and then you can't earn more because you're not growing, because at your job you're not a performer. So what are some of the things you would look at to start a side hustle? First of all, what's your passion and what are your skill sets? As a person, I have realized that I'm passionate about financial literacy, for example. I'm passionate about building capacity for other people. So you realize that one of my side hustles is that outside my work, I take on training opportunities where I train people in different organizations, and I'm paid for that. So that works for me, because I realize that I'm very good when it comes to speaking to people. I'm very passionate when it comes to building capacity for others. So I am good at that, and I enjoy doing it, and therefore I can monetize that. So you as a person, what is that you can take on? Also, I am very lucky that along my journey, I picked up a passion to do with coaching, and then also my employer sponsored me to take on a coaching certification. Well, I was meant to use it at my workplace, but I realized that I can actually earn something from it on the side. So that is something that you could think about. Then also ask yourself, what is your available time and energy? So what are some of those things that you can utilize? Of course, you're not going to take on something that will require more time. yet you do not have it. So you have to be realistic with yourself and then say, maybe, so if I'm seeking to start a salon business as a side hustle, how much time does it require from me? And will I have the energy to monitor it if I'm able to put in someone else? So that's something else that we're also going to look at, and you must be realistic with yourself. Consider your work schedule, consider your family commitments, consider other things. Then also look at your values and goals as a person. So you're not going to say that, for example, we have friends who are Muslims, and there are certain businesses that they would be prohibited from taking on. Even our friends who are Christians, who believe in the Christian faith, there are some things that maybe your faith would deter you from taking on. Imagine a Muslim saying that because I heard that a pork joint is lucrative, I'm therefore going to start it as a side hustle. Of course, that would conflict with your values. So you as a person, you're going to say that, yes, these are my values, and therefore let me look for something that is within there. The other thing that you'd be looking at is as a person, what does your job require you to do? For example, before I joined MTN, I was working for a consultancy firm, and my primary job then when I was working there, it means that if I took on a consulting assignment as a side gig, I would be conflicting with my primary job requirements, and therefore that was a no-go zone. I also know that you work with one of the big consultancies in this country, and therefore you cannot take on work that is directly competing with your work, because your employer, you may find yourself in trouble with your employer. So those are some of the things that you would also consider. And then lastly, as you're looking at creating side hustles, you may want to leverage technology. I think the times have changed. We are no longer in the past where every side hustle that you had to take on had to require you to be physically present or to be physically engaged in something. For example, Samuel, I know that you have a monetized YouTube channel that you're earning from. So is that something that someone who is an employee on this platform can take on to say that, I know I'm very good at content creation. I'm therefore going to start a YouTube channel, develop content for it until I am able to monetize it. Some people that are on this platform may be very good users of TikTok. Do you know that you could also monetize your content on TikTok, and that can be a side hustle that you can take on for yourself? So there is no one size fits it all. Like the things I've mentioned about, you're going to have to look at them as a person and then say that as a person, I think this is what can work for me, considering these factors. Whether I'm going to start a chapati stall, whether I'm going to start a clothing business in Chikubo, whether I'm going to start a salon in my neighborhood, whether I'm going to be training and coaching people, whatever kind of side hustle that I'm taking on. Those are some of the factors that you can think about. Therefore, if you can creatively think about these strategies and some of the factors to consider, you're going to create multiple streams of income without compromising your primary job responsibilities. In the end, I must say that it's going to require you to be intentional, to be disciplined, and also to be patient, because the journey of creating multiple streams of income via side hustles is not straightforward and it's not easy. It requires a lot of discipline to ensure that you do not affect your primary job responsibilities. Over to you, Sam. Sam, you're muted. I can't hear you.
Okay, thank you so much, Darius. I like the fact that you've listed quite a number of options, and I know that our viewers have taken note. So if you're watching through and you have a question, especially for our audience that is joining through Zoom, for the audience that is also joining this through YouTube, you could also post your question there if you're joining the live session. If you're watching the recording, you could also drop your question. Maybe we could have someone come and be able to respond to you. But I appreciate all of you who have tuned in. And I want you to just share what is your takeaway so far from the session so that we can be able to learn from each other, as well as in case there's any questions, I'll be able to be able to answer those. You can paste them in the chat box and we can be able to pick them up. Darius, you've mentioned quite a number of things, and I really agree. In this era of technology, it is an opportunity for us to be able to earn without even being in different places. Right now, we are on this session, and we have over 53 people who are joining through the Zoom session, and we have quite a number of other people who are joining through YouTube. If we were to sell this session, even if we had to sell it 10,000 shillings, that would be already about 500,000 shillings that is entering our pockets. So there's a lot that you can be able to do with digital tools. And he also mentioned about monetization of your content. I'm one of those that have monetized my YouTube channel. So you can be able to earn money. But a lot of that requires you to put in definitely time, especially for some of us that have busy jobs. You leave the busy job and you have to create time to be able to put in the hours to create content, but also to give your business time. I think one of the things that for most people struggle with, especially those that are employed, when you open up a business and give it less time, means that even the results will definitely be less. If you're opening up a business and you're employing your relatives and you're thinking that everything's going to work out in your favor, I think that is something that you're making a mistake in. I'm one of those whose hands have been burnt by doing business that way. So if your job does not allow you to do active income projects, then I would advise you not really to go into aspects of where you're a farmer on what? On call. I would encourage you to look at passive ways of earning income. If you can't do content, you can write a book and sell that. There are people who are earning from books. You can have other people who are supporting you. You do not have to do most of this work by yourself. You can have people that you can partner with. I know that there are quite a number of people who are doing startups, so you could try to gamble on somebody through a proper due diligence process and invest in them and then share the profits. But you could also think about how can I also leverage on the opportunities in the digital world, like we've mentioned. You have quite a number of platforms that you could leverage, like LinkedIn. So for some of you who either have gathered quite a number of experience over the years, you could market yourself as a consultant into your field, and definitely people will be able to pay you. There are many organizations that cannot afford to hire full-time people, and so they would be willing to actually pay you an income for you to be able to do whatever you do. Darius mentioned one of the things that I do as Samuel Evander, who is a coach, is mentorship and coaching, and I charge for this kind of service. So that is one of my sources of additional income. So I'm offering value out there. I'm not robbing people, but in the same way, I'm also be able to add something to myself, such that even when expenses increase and maybe my employer is not able to increase my salary the same way, I'm able to at least utilize part of that money to supplement my income. So you too could be able to see, what is that I know? Am I an accountant? Am I a marketeer? Am I someone in procurement? How can I earn? Because there are organizations that may not be able to hire you as full-time, but they can be take you on as, let's say, on a short-term basis. I have an opportunity that I just shared in the WhatsApp group of Transformational Professionals Club, where somebody is looking for an accountant who can be in the office for 2 days. So if you're able to negotiate with your current employer and they can allow you that kind of time, then you go for such an organization, and that's an additional income for you. So find an additional income that works within your lifestyle within your current situation. How busy are you? What's the time availability that you have? And then sacrifice. Sometimes you may not have a lot of time on you. Genuinely, you may need to sacrifice, but also as you sacrifice that time, remember yourself into the picture. There is also mental health and burnout into the process. So you have to create a balance, like Darius shared. I think when we are speaking about wealth, there is more to just money, the financial wealth, there is social wealth, which means you have to build networks, because through those networks, it's also going to be able to generate money for you, because those are people who are going to recommend you. But you also need to think about your health. When it comes to your health is wealth. So that's an important aspect. Of course, spiritual also comes into play. So amidst your desire to earn an income, you want to also balance those aspects. Make sure that you're creating time for your family, like Darius shared, and seeing how everything is playing out. But at the end of the day, of course, you know that these are your active years. So means that whatever effort you do today will actually help you even as you transition out of employment, because every one of us will one time leave employment. So all that we are sharing with you today, even what Darius has shared, is to help us. How do we build this wealth such that our children do not go through the same life that we went through, so that our children have secure education, so that our children have security, our families have security, but even ourselves, because our old age is going to require a lot of money in terms of medical costs, in terms of taking care of ourselves, beyond just even the NSSF money we have. Wealth creation is making sure that we are even investing for 10, 20 years from now. Because I know some of the things, if you have to plant trees, trees may take maybe 10 years or 20 years. So that is one thing that you need to think about. I think one of the other things that, Darius, I want to add on the investments that somebody could look at is an aspect of investing in yourself. Because when you invest in yourself, it helps you to be able to add value to you, so that you can be able to now convince HR people like Darius that you're ready for an extra income. Darius, I want you to just make some comments around, from your perspective as an HR person, and as an individual, how has investing in yourself, not investing in land or real estate, but investing in yourself, either taking that MBA, taking that additional course, or even just purchasing a book to be able to read. How has that helped you? And what would you advise someone on the other side?
Thank you, Samuel. That's an interesting question, because as a person, I'm very passionate about investing in myself, and I've done this through different things. Like you said, I've taken on formal courses like pursuing my master's and then other trainings. But I'm also very active in things outside work or outside formal education that can develop yourself. For example, I am a member of Toastmasters International, where I know that I continue to develop my ability to speak well in public and also become a better leader. I'm also very active in Rotaract as an avenue for me to grow my leadership skills, which is part of my personal development journey. Every morning, I ensure that I read something. Every morning, I ensure that I run as part of investing also in my health. And then also, I'm always on YouTube. I'm always online on platforms like Coursera, Mackenzie, on all these websites to grow my learning. What I've seen over time is that it comes to payoff. First of all, me and you know that I've grown in my career right from my time right after university. I was able to grow with my first employer. I was able to grow within 3 ranks within the first 2 years as a paid intern, as an associate, and as a senior associate, before I then left Imprint to join MTN. That was a result of me investing in myself, and then my employer realizing that there's more value that Darius can bring on board. It happened still when I joined MTN. Within a period of 2 years, I was able to grow between roles. That is something that also is coming from investing in myself. In fact, I remember some people wondering, how do you do it? People have been here for 10 years and they're in similar roles, and you're here within 2 years. You're already growing. Maybe you have a godfather around, but it wasn't. It wasn't the case. It is out of these things. But in terms of also the topic of today, so because of the people that I interact with on the journey of growing myself, they see me and they see Darius and the value that Darius can bring on board. And some of the side hustles, like I mentioned, training and capacity building for employees, come because it's this journey that I have to keep working on. As I have more knowledge, then I'm able to transfer it, and that is monetized. But also, it gives you a bargaining power when you're switching from one job to another, that there's something that you're bringing on table. It's not just your name and saying that I did this degree that then I require more pay. There's more that you can bring to the table. People can refer to you for consulting, people can refer to you for coaching. You're able to also learn other avenues of how you can make money. All this comes from the aspect or the journey of personal development. So there is a lot that I would advocate for anyone that is on this platform to think about investing in themselves. Indeed, it's something that I had forgotten about, but it is worthy to think about investing in yourself as you think about investing in anything else. Over to you.
All right. Thank you so much. I have one of the participants who has a question. Mr. Theo, want to welcome you to be able to ask your question. Okay. Yes, Theo, you can come through.
Hello, can you kindly confirm if you can see me? Okay.
Yes, Theo.
Thank you, coach, for putting this together. Hey, Darius, we
Hi.
meet again. The last time I saw you was last month at your office. We were working on a career fair, and we had an interaction with Elise Kevin. I didn't know you're a financial consultant also. Seems you're a man of many graces. My name is Theophilus, and I had just one question that I had wanted to ask. From everything you've been discussing, I noted you were talking. You were more of the conversation has been more on the investing side. Investing side the investing side and the saving has been we have talked about it, but my issue on the investing the saving side is the expenditure side of it. I wanted you to just share your thoughts on black tax. How does an employee deal with black tax? Because I have boys my age who are dealing with debt older than their age. Yeah. And when you really probe further, it's just a black tax issue. They have these relatives. Actually, their black tax issues are more than their payee. If you're to look at the payee computation, in Uganda, payee for someone below 10 million is 30%, above 10 million is 40%. But you find someone's salary at the end of the month, their salary, the net salary, close to like 60% is going to black tax. Yeah, they're either taking care of people in the village, taking care of someone's kids. And the annoying thing is that the people now that are taking care over times, they become more entitled. So I just wanted you in with your exposure and visibility you've had in this thing of financial coaching to just basically highlight and give some nuggets on black tax. How does a growing professional deal with black tax? Because as much as we do not want to accept it, it's one of like the big killers. It's one of those reasons as to why people have failed to save, failed to invest. A guy is earning 3 million. And like 5 years down the road, you're asking him, where is the money going? And he's telling you, I'm taking care of people. Like, how does, and it's so common in African culture. In Europe, it isn't, because when you're old, they send you to an old people's home. You go and stay there. But then in Africa, it's sort of different. So how does one navigate that kind of setting? Yeah, that's the major question I had. The other was about securities, but you sort of answered it. The returns on the shares. You talked of getting profit. There was an argument, and I know you work with MTN. No offense, no pun intended. There was an argument that the shares are not shares. Some people in the marketplace believe shares are not a wise option. They would rather invest in treasury bills and bonds or buy land or have rentals like you than invest in shares, because of the fact that the market has not been grown by Uganda Security Exchange, that the industry, to be able to give returns to the peoples. Yeah, MTN and Airtel are on the stock exchange because it's a law. If they do not agree to list part of their equity on the stock exchange, they will not get a license. So it's like that. It's a duress thing. It's a duress coercion thing. So there is a school of thought in the marketplace that believes securities are just shares. In Uganda, it's not competitive. It's not for making money. It's just for saving, like for 10 years. So if I buy shares, I am just, it's that extra car money. I'm keeping it for 10 years. I'm not going to get it tomorrow. I'll not get a margin, a substantial margin from buying and selling. Yeah, like how you could see the New York Stock Exchange or the China Stock Exchange. So I just wanted your views on that. What do you think of that ideology? Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Theo. I'll call you Theo because I can't complete the entire name well. But thank you for the two questions. First of all, the two questions are very relatable to me because I have experienced black tax. In fact, I'm still experiencing it. I'll just share how I am managing without going too much into personal details. But I am also investing in shares, and I know I have had at least an experience since around 2017 when I did start. So to start with the question of black tax, first of all, we must acknowledge that in Africa and this part of the world, it is not something that we can run away from. For someone who may be on call and they don't know what black tax is, black tax is when you start working and then you realize there are people you have to take care of, maybe back home. It could be your siblings, it could be your parents, and part of your salary goes to catering for them. Sometimes because you feel you have an obligation to pay back for the things that they did to you, and sometimes because it's a social norm in Africa that you don't prosper alone. This aspect of Ubuntu tries to discourage us from seeking to prosper alone. But who else are you helping to grow as you grow alone? So yes, it is a reality that we must deal with. For a couple of years when I just started my career, a lot of my money was going towards black tax. A bigger portion was going towards black tax, until a point when I became more financially literate, and then I realized that there is actually a better way to deal with it. So what would I advise you? First of all, agree as a person that whatever I do to take care of others, I'll not forget about myself. So look back at your financial goals. Where do you want to be after a particular time? Me as a person, the overarching goal is long term, because I have chosen the path of employment. I know that there is that time when it's going to come and I won't have enough strength to work. Even if I choose to pivot to go to business, I know that time of retirement is coming. So whatever goals that I have, I make sure that I align them to that. So even you as a person, understand what are my overarching goals, and therefore how do my finances come in. Now, once you've understood that, then come back to your finances. I encourage you to consider the aspect of paying yourself first, even before you deal with black tax. Agree on a certain percentage of your money or your salary and say that no matter the circumstances, 10% of my salary is going to go towards my savings. And then maybe another 10% is going to go towards investment. So regardless, so that means that of your net income, you will have the 80% to play with for your everyday expenses, for black tax, for giving to charity, for your medical expenses, and whatever there is. Of course, there are some models that have been developed over time, but because of time, I'll not be able to go into, for example, the 30, 50, 20% rule. You can read about that. 50, 30, 20% rule of managing your money. But so coming to what percentages you can look at, agree and say that, so as a person, of the 80% that is remaining, this is the amount that I can afford to put towards black tax, because I've worked my must-have expenses. Those are the needs. I've looked at my wants, and then also the aspect of black tax. Then manage within that. So what do I mean? So for example, if you've said that only 30% of my finances is going to go towards black tax, then you will manage within that. So instead of taking your young brother to a school that pays 2 million or 1 million or 800,000, depending on your salary, you're then going to consider a school that will fit within that. Definitely, there is a school that will fit whichever income level that you have, if you put pride and prestige aside. So if you've determined that, yes, I work for MTN, but my young brother, I cannot afford to take my young brother to Kisubi because this is the percentage that I've chosen to go towards black tax. Handle it that way. You know that for my relatives or those I have to give money, I can't exceed a certain amount, because that is what I have set to put aside for purposes of black tax. Then that is going to guide you. And then have candid conversations with the people that you are supporting. So that, look, auntie, uncle, mom, dad, I very much want to support you, but there is a limit to what I can I can support you with. So how are you going to manage this? So make sure that their expectations are managed. Yeah, make sure that their expectations are managed of what they can expect from you.
Sure.
But that may not be sustainable in the long term. The other thing that you may think about, how can you help them to sustainably manage themselves? So for example, if you have a young brother, can you help him to start generating income for himself so that he can now not rely on you? If you have your mom that you've been supporting back in the village, could you start for her maybe a retail shop that then she can utilize to generate some money that she'll be able to use to support herself? I find that more sustainable. But you must have candid conversations with the people that you are supporting and say that, look, I can only support you to this extent. Beyond this, just know that I'm also constrained. But then, how can I support you to generate money for yourself? I want to believe that with that kind of approach, also with you be candid with them, you can even find that maybe if it's a family, you now have a bigger pool, which you can then utilize to create what we call generational wealth. To say that, so now as a family, I have Sam, who is my brother. I've supported him, and now he's earning. I have Joanne, who is my sister. I've now supported her. Now she's earning. Now we can start to save and pull resources and invest as a family. And maybe, who knows, our future generation, the children that we give birth to, will not be required to have a black tax that they have to take care of. And then briefly, I'll come to the aspect of investing in shares. Yes, our securities exchange has not grown that much. Therefore, if you're someone who needs your money very fast, it may not work for you. It is advisable that you give investing in securities, stocks and shares, an outlook of at least 5 years for you to be able to start to realize some returns from it. So if you want money for your everyday expenses, shares are not going to be for you. That's why in my earlier submission, I asked you, look at your income level, look at your risk appetite, look at your goals. Are they short-term? Are they long-term? Then you'll know that some asset classes are good for you or not good for you. But even if it is on a securities exchange that is very liquid, like the New York Securities Exchange or the NASDAQ, whichever it is, if you want your money for the short term, shares and stocks are not for you. Personally, when I look back at my journey with the Uganda Securities Exchange, I must say that it has been one of learning. I have invested money in some of the stocks, and it has not turned out quite lucrative. If any of you invested in the shares for CIPLA, you know what happened. We bought our shares at 256, but at the moment, they are below 100 shillings. In fact, around 50 something. So that means that the value has gone down. Also, but when you look at the strategies for the company, maybe you may want to take a decision whether you want to remain there or not. Looking at MTN, when MTN had just listed, the share was the share price was kind of stable. But then after some time, it went down. After some time, we are seeing it come upwards. And that's the trajectory that they tell us, 5 to 10 years for you to be able to realize something. So again, it's going to go back to your personal circumstances. Look at your financial goals. Look at the outlook. What amount of time do you need to have returns on your investment for you to determine whether you go into shares or whether you go into unit trusts, where you know that even if you needed your money tomorrow, you'll have access to it. Over to you, Sam, and I hope I've responded to Theo satisfactorily.
When you share about the CIPLA story, I think many people have been burnt in terms of their hands when it comes to shares. There are a lot of dynamics. Of course, our stock exchange is still developing. So that's why you need to be to really understand where you're putting your money. Like I said earlier on, before you invest, make sure that you understand where you're putting your money. Some of these investments, we just put there what we can afford to lose. And for some, we are like, let me invest here. I know for most of the people, land has been one of those investment schemes that many employees have gone for. But even land itself, of course, has its own due diligence that you need to really undertake. If at all you need to safeguard your income as well as your savings. So a lot comes into play. I think being aware of whatever is happening, being alert, understand, also spreading your risk is also very important. Not picking all the money, going to the bank and borrow and put into shares. I think spreading the risk has really helped me. So I just wanted to emphasize that. When you mentioned about black tax, what came to my mind, of course, I've also experienced some elements of black tax. But what has helped me along the way, in addition to what you've shared, is every time from the time I now started to do financial goals and automatic saving, forced savings. So I get myself where I do not have the money. So when somebody calls me, let's say for money, I genuinely I'm not liquid. I'm not broke, but I'm not liquid. And for me, that I'll not easily let money go, because I'm now not going to the bank or the circle to borrow for another person. I can basically be able to tell them I don't have. One of the aspects that I really struggled with early was saying no to requests, because genuinely when somebody calls you and says my child is sick, somebody's son has not gone to school, so all these things, they seem to be genuine reasons, and you really want to give back to society as an individual. And especially if at all it's society that also groomed you, so you're a beneficiary of the society's, let's say, help. I think that makes you to always want to give, but do not forget yourself in the picture. And that is why you need to have those financial goals. You need to go for automatic savings, where you know that whatever amount of money I have, like Darius shared about the 50, 30, 20 rule, whatever amount you have has already been distributed onto what it should be doing. So when I give you a call and say, I'll help me with 100,000, you exactly know what the impact of 100,000 means to your budget. So that is quite critical when it comes to managing those areas. But I also like Darius' sharing when he said, empower the people that depend on you, such that they have either an income or whatever, they are able to at least take care of themselves to a certain extent. But also having the hard conversation is also very important. Tell them, okay, guys, I'm working, but these are priorities. I'm also doing ABCD. I've enrolled back for my master's, and my master's require money, so I'm not able to, or I've started a family and I'm not able to support at this time. What I've seen other people do, and I've also tried to do it as well, if somebody reaches out and wants, let's say, 300,000, what I will do is help them with maybe 100 or 50,000 and say, that is what I have at that point in time. Somebody will appreciate you, will appreciate your support, but they will also understand that, okay, maybe he doesn't have. So instead of picking the whole 300,000, I give 100,000 or 50,000. I was watching one session online where somebody was sharing and saying that if somebody calls you for 300,000, never give them all the 300,000. Give them maybe a third of it, because when you give them all that money, you create a mindset in them that thinks that you always have money. So that is very important. And Black Tax is not just even for our relatives or whatever, but even our friends. We are in an era where somebody is either organizing a wedding and you'll be dragged into a WhatsApp group, and then you have to contribute. And then because you also will have this event one time, so you want to make sure that you're balancing when it comes. So there's a lot that comes into play, but at the end of the day, protect yourself in the whole process, because it doesn't make sense for you contributing for me 1 million shillings to my wedding. I'm happy, but you are getting into debt because you cannot finance your lifestyle. So that is something that I felt I needed to add on to that. I don't know if we have any other questions that are coming through, but I also just shared a link to our WhatsApp group. So if you're not part of our WhatsApp group where we share links to events like this, the Transformational Professionals Club, I would welcome you to that group. We've handled this is I think our 6th session in a row. So it would be very important for you to just tap into it so that you can be able to be part of that platform that grows and develops each other. So there's a question from, I think, Atwine Dennis, who says, is going for further education and investment? I know we mentioned something on that, but I want to welcome you back, Darius, to just emphasize onto that question.
Thank you, Samuel. Yes, in my earlier submission, I did mention that investing in your growth is an investment. In fact, it is one of those investments that you should give priority. So yes, in one way or another, and to a greater extent, especially if you've studied what you're going to study further, will come out as an investment. As you add on to your skills, then you're able to attract opportunities that pay better. You're also able to tap into other forms of wealth, like I mentioned, social wealth. For example, one of the reasons I studied my master's, and particularly decided that it had to be a master's where I would physically interact with people, was because of the social aspect. And the people that I met while doing my MBA have greatly impacted me. Some of these we've done investments together. Some of these have attracted me to opportunities that have generated income for me, and also that even in terms of employment, I'm able to attract more skill sets. You will find that in some organizations, having a master's is very key for you before you step into a managerial role, and that means earning more. So that is something that is going to be as a return on investment for you. I think I don't want to belabor that because we already mentioned, and I think, yes, the most important thing is to, when I'm discussing with employees at my workplace, I am always emphasizing, whenever someone comes to me and says that, Darius, I am considering to go for further education, maybe I need support or I need guidance, I tend to probe to realize that, have they thought about it? Does it align with their career goals? Does it align with their aspirations? And how does that contribute to their growth? So yes, if you've considered all those factors well, it will always come out as an investment. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful.
But maybe some,
yes,
maybe just to mention that in this era, also going for further studies may not necessarily mean you going to a physical class of doing an MBA.
Yeah.
You could study online for some of the things that are even free, but will advance your skill set. I know people that have studied online within our organization. People have self-taught things to do with data literacy, and that has earned them jobs or roles that require them to be highly intelligent with dealing with data, and they're earning more, yet they have not necessarily gone to a formal course. Someone goes online, teaches themselves things to do with SQL, Python, Tableau, and the likes, and then they are able to earn roles that pay higher, yet they haven't gone to a formal class to study any of these. So yes, there are different options to consider. Please look out for what works for you. Is it a formal class? Is it something that you can do online? Can you job shadow? I think all that is further studies for me, depending on how you look at it. And yes, it will always turn out as an investment.
Okay. Thank you so much. One of the other things that I also want to note is Darius is a financial literacy trainer and coach. So if you have your staff that need to be trained, Darius would be one of those people to look at. You could also have one-on-ones with him. I do the same kind of work as well. But you could be able to see whom you're very comfortable with. So that is very important. You know, sometimes we think we know much, or sometimes you just need somebody's hand to be able to guide you and provide you insights. I'll give you an example. When it came to, let's say, starting out investing in treasury bills and bonds, when they started talking about coupons and interest rates and whatever, you may not really cope up easily. But if you have somebody who is able to guide you, that really, really helps. And in the same way, even for other investments as well. Sometimes you may think a given investment is going to give you a high return, but you need to talk to another person. I myself have been attracted into investing into life insurance policies. And I did a 5-year policy with one of the insurance companies. I was saving about, I think, 200,000 shillings. And we had, the period ended and they gave me about, I think that was about 13 million or 12 million, about 900,000. So it means that for the 5 years, I earned interest of the tune of 900,000 on the 12 million I invested. So here is the side of the story. So the person who sold to me this idea as an investment, which for me, I think was not right, because it was not an investment as per se. Rather, they would have sold this to me as an insurance policy. So means that although the return might be low, maybe the 900,000 interest that I earned, but when it comes to the return in terms of if something happened, then my beneficiaries would benefit from that policy. So meaning that they would, for the policy I took on, my beneficiaries would get a half of my total assured sum at the end of the day. So why am I bringing this? Of course, I got the money and was still happy. You know, sometimes when you're an employee, even if you're saving and you're not getting an interest, it's not something that is easy to find. I actually would say that that investment or that policy is the first one where I saved consistently for 5 years, same amount, without defaulting any month for over 5 years. And when you multiply 5 times 12, those are over 60 months of consistency. And how I was able to achieve this is because this money was being deducted off my account, and it was a small amount of money, 200,000 shillings. But cumulatively, it added up to about 12 million and coming to 13 million. It really did great things for me when it comes to whatever I was trying to put that money into. But at the end of the day, understand what are you putting the money to. If you can seek help, seek. But also let's embrace starting small. Sometimes we want to have high targets, let's say 500,000 that you're saving or 1 million, but you can't afford that. Yet if you start with that 100,000 shilling, or we start with that 200,000 shillings, the 200,000 shillings was able to evolve into a 13 or 12 million, which I would now use to either purchase land or put up a structure, or now pick that money and put it to another kind of investment. But that came because I was consistent. So that is something that I just want to share. So Darius, as we conclude, I do not see any question. I've shared the links to the WhatsApp group. And then also this session is also being recorded. So you can find this session on Coach Samuel Ivanda's YouTube channel. And please, when you get there, please subscribe to be notified when we have such kind of other trainings. Darius, as we end this year, I know we have about 45 on average days to the end of this year, and we shall be getting into the new year. I just want you to comment around financial goals. What should somebody be doing right now in terms of looking at their, let's say, previous goals, and then finishing strong and being able to start on a good basically start well when it comes to next year. Even as we conclude, what are some of those parting shots for somebody who now knows or understands this, but now wants to refine and see how they can be able to start well?
All right. Thank you, Samuel. That's an interesting question and an interesting way to end this conversation. So first of all, I think what someone should be doing right now is reflecting back on their financial journey and their financial goals for 2024. What had you set out to achieve and how has it been? Also, study what are the different factors that have affected your journey for 2024. Has your income increased? Has your income lessened? Have you been able to keep your expenditure in check? If you had any emergencies, how did you handle them? So basically look back and ask yourself. I know for many of us, usually when the year is starting or when a year like this one is ending, we have several goals. First of all, you must look back and say that when I reflect, how has my 2024 been? And then that is going to be a launch pad for you to then set yourself up for financial success in 2025. So once you have a clear view of how 2024 has been for you to date, then you can utilize that to look at your 2025. So ask yourself the goals that you set, have you achieved them? If you achieved, what factors contributed to that? Also reflect, if you've not achieved your goals, what are the factors that contributed to that? Is it that they were not SMART goals? Is it that you were too ambitious? Did other factors come into play that you had not anticipated that affected you? Then use that. So as you look at 2025, what I would like to encourage is that set SMART goals, and SMART being an acronym for specific. So be specific and say that by the end of 2025, this is what I want to achieve in terms of my finances. Have 3 to 5 goals. For example, have an earnings goal, have a savings goal, and then also have an investment goal as an example. So for example, say that by 2025, I want to have earned this amount. And it could be that from my total earnings. It could be that I want to have, if I currently have only one stream of income, by that time I want to have maybe 3 streams of income or 5 streams of income. And then if savings goals, say how much do I want to have saved by that time? I know we don't have time, but we could have talked about different savings strategies like the 52-week savings challenge that the 52-week savings that I popularize and advocate for a lot. And then look at your investment goals. What asset classes do you want to invest in? What kind of portfolio do you want to have? If you're currently not diversified, how much do you want to diversify? And some of these things may also involve seeking knowledge to understand some of these things as you seek to invest in them. So once you've had SMART goals, so for example, you could say, I would like to earn $10,000 from my side hustles by the end of 2025. That's SMART. But then the other thing is also, is it measurable? So ask yourself, so for example, in that goal, we see that it is measurable. So by the end of 2025, we will ask ourselves, have we been able to earn $10,000 from our side hustles? Maybe if you want to put it back to Uganda shillings, have I been able to, excuse me, have I been able to add maybe the 35 million from my side hustles? And then the other thing, ask yourself, is it achievable? So for example, you want to earn $10,000 from your side hustles, but where are you currently in your journey? And that may determine whether it is achievable or not. What are some of the things that you've done? What are some of the skill sets that you seek to monetize for you to be able to earn this? Those things are going to guide you. Look at your reality and then ask yourself, really? I'm currently not earning even 500 US dollars from my side hustles, and now I want to go to $10,000. Is it a goal that I'm setting up myself for success, or I'm setting up myself for failure? Then, which brings me to the other aspect of, is it realistic? So yes, you want to earn $10,000 from your side hustles. Where are you at the moment? When you compare that with where you want to go or what you want to achieve, how realistic is it? If you break it down, the $10,000, do you really have what it takes to be able to earn that? Again, it is good that it is realistic, because if you set unrealistic goals, you won't achieve them, and then that will demoralize you, and then you may end up giving up altogether and then saying, no, these things that they are talking about are not realistic, they are not achievable, therefore let me go about life like I've always gone about it, because those are hard, that is hard stuff that I can't achieve. The other thing that I would like to mention is that, is it time bound? So yes, for example, in the example of our goal, of where maybe you want to achieve $10,000 from your side hustles by the end of 2025. Clearly, there's a timeline, but you can come back and maybe break it down further and say that maybe on a quarterly basis, by half year, by September, by October. So and some of these things we do at our companies. but then when we come back to our personal lives, we do not apply them. So, for example, for most progressive organizations, they will have goals for the year, they will have timelines of when they want to achieve them. They will go through the realities of saying, is it achievable? Is it realistic? Is it measurable? We do these things. And sometimes at the workplace, we are the ones who are leading these sessions of setting SMART goals. But when we come back to our personal finances, are we doing that? I think I would say that those are some of the things that you can do. So go back, reflect on your finances, and then once you've reflected on your finances, work on SMART goals. Once you've worked on SMART goals, go into action. Start working on ensuring that you achieve the SMART goals. Whatever you work on will vary depending on the goal that you set for yourself. But all I can say is that it's not about the goals, but what you do about the goals that will matter by the end of 2025. Over to you, Samuel.
Wow. Thank you so much, Darius, for sharing that. Even as we conclude, I want to appreciate everyone for logging in into the session. Appreciate our YouTube audience as well. Either you're joining this as a live session or a recording. So we have an upcoming training that you may need to get interested in, and we shall share the details within the WhatsApp group. So the training is basically going to help you create more income for yourself. So it's more of like alternative income. It's going to help you create alternative incomes and see how to do that as an employee. So I'll be sharing the details within the WhatsApp group for the link I've shared. In case you do not have access to the WhatsApp group, you can be able to reach out to me on my number, which is +256 70 +256 70 380 32 55 +256 70 380 32 55. This training is going to be via Zoom and it's going to be online, so you can be able to access it, because I know that quite a number of people here, you may not be able to save because you're not earning well. So this training would really be very helpful to you. I've done it for quite a number of people and it has been very helpful. So that will be one of the things that I would interest you. So I want to just say that even as we conclude, one of my what I would share is make sure that you improve yourself in everything that you do. Your earning is going to be very related to how much you're investing in yourself. The value that you add to yourself creates more money. And I know for us as employees, one of our key sources of income is actually salaries. So even as you think about other sources of incomes, you think about saving and so on, ask yourself, how can I increase this thing called salary? And I know for quite a number of people, I've already given up about it. So earning another salary that is higher than what you're earning requires you to improve yourself, but also requires you to be intentional. That means you're showing up. That means you're going for opportunities. You're positioning your brand, your personal brand, very key, but you're also connecting with the right people, your networks. You're also going ahead to also understand, how can I earn for my passion? Because quite a number of you have very good passions that you could basically earn from. Darius told you he's a financial literacy trainer, he's a consultant. Myself, I'm a public speaker, I'm a consultant. Even right now, I'm on leave, but this week I was earning money through consultancy, through training, through mentorship, through coaching. So it's quite important for you to be able to know that you can be able to earn money from your passion, even outside your job. I'm an accountant. I would be restricting my mind to accountancy. But you're able to pivot and see, how can I earn more from the work that I do? At the end of the day, like Darius indicated, make sure that, of course, whatever you're doing does not conflict with your job. If your job is into manufacturing, you're not manufacturing the same product. If your job is in, let's say, maybe auditing, it's an audit firm or whatever, you're not getting into be also an auditor somewhere, taking money that would belong to the organization. So balance that throughout. But at the end of the day, do not depend on a single source of income. If there's one thing that you need to take out from this session is diversify your incomes and diversify your investments. Make sure that you do not enter 2025 with only a single source of income, because at the end of the day, that income does not grow at the level of which your expenses grow. And you have aspirations. You want to go for trips. You want to earn those kind of, let's say, qualifications. You want to make sure that you create a life for your children that is better than the life that you went through. You want to construct, you want to drive, you want to do quite a number of things. So looking at your age right now and looking at the opportunities in the market, I think it's for you to open your mind and see opportunities around you and see how to put in the time, sacrifice, and see how can you be able to think about yourself and change your story. Sometimes we have left this whole thing of money or income to our employers, but our employers also have priorities. If tomorrow you lost that job, where can you start from? So need to think about that. Myself, I've worked in two organizations that have closed shop, and people who have worked there have really struggled at the end of the day. So it's quite important to make these reflections at a time like this when we are ending this year and starting the next year. So it is very important for you to think about all those things. But I want to appreciate you, and please make sure you join that WhatsApp group, or make sure that you also follow our work or online. I want to ask Darius, those people that want to reach out to you, would you maybe be able to either share your number or your handles so that after this session, anyone who wants to learn more from you, that they can be able to reach out? I know that since you're an HR person, people may want to reach out for jobs, but I want you not to reach out for the jobs. Reach out for the value that Darius can add to you, because he may not have the jobs, and the MTN jobs are advertised publicly anyway. So it's also just reaching out through your networking. Reach out and see how you can get value from the other person, and see how you can also be of value to them as well. Darius.
All right. Thank you, Samuel. But maybe I'd like to mention that jobs is also value if someone reaches out for jobs. But like you mentioned, MTN jobs are advertised on our career site. So if anyone wanted to work for MTN, that's where they would be able to find them. But as a person, so there are different platforms where you can find me. First of all, if you go to LinkedIn, you will find Darius Nkwasiwe is the name I use. Just the name like I'm using to name myself. If you search Darius Nkwasiwe, you'll be able to find me and everything about my professional life. If you go on Twitter, you will find me, Darius Nkwasiwe. But also, you can reach out to me via WhatsApp. And my number is, let me actually type it in the chat, 0781 819477. That is my active number on WhatsApp. Also, if you go to YouTube and you look for Personal Finance Mastery with Darius, you'll find some of the content for the sessions I have held. Personal Finance Mastery with Darius on YouTube. And then lastly, I'd like to mention that I also have a community of people that we interact with regarding matters of personal finance. It's called the Personal Finance Mastery Community, where it's a WhatsApp group where people share matters of personal finance and they support each other. It doesn't rely on any one person, but I'm the founder and creator of that group. We are also happy to add you if you WhatsApp me and are interested in that. But you can also find me in communities like Rotaract. If you joined Rotaract and came to Rubaga, you will find me. But also if you joined Toastmasters and you specifically came to Kampala Sunrise Toastmasters Club, you will find me there and we'll be able to interact also. So basically, all those avenues you can interact with me. But I've posted my contact in the WhatsApp chat. I'll also type there my email in case you would like to reach out to me. via email. That's it. And also Sam, if you can allow me, let me post the link to my YouTube.
Please, share
in the chat, so that if anyone would like to check it out, they can.
Yep.
So I've also posted it there. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Please check out all those links so that you can benefit. I know that after the session, you might lose the links. So just make sure that you can be able to access them while there. Just copy them and paste them somewhere, and then they can be very helpful to you. But otherwise, we appreciate all of you for joining in. We'll have these conversations. I know, Darius, I'll again host you to be able to, for us to dig deep into some of these other things that we've not talked about as we continuously develop each other. And thank you so much for joining in. Please reach out so that we can be able to help you. And then we can be able to grow together. I know that when we are together, we share ideas, we build each other. And again, we are able to grow as one. So this session has been brought to you by BACS Africa, which is Business and Career Solutions Africa, which is basically a firm that is into mentorship and coaching, helping professionals like you within their careers as well as their personal finance, in conjunction with the Transformational Professionals Club, which is an avenue for professionals to be able to add value to each other, but to also be able to connect, learn, grow, and earn at the end of the day, because we believe that there's more to just a salary, and so we can be able to earn together. So I want to appreciate everyone for joining in. Those that have joined through YouTube, please, we appreciate you. If in case you've missed the session, you can be able to catch it on YouTube. In case you want to share this with another person, make sure that you can also just share it with them. Otherwise, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Darius, for creating time. Friends, whoever is still on, just say thanks to Darius, who has created time. He's a very busy person, but being here to share insights, free insights, because even organizations have to pay him to come and share some of those insights. But being here, we really appreciate. So follow through the YouTube channels and make sure that you subscribe, you like, and then you share with your network so that we can be able to learn with each other. Because when we learn some of these things, it means that we are inspired, we are motivated, and we do not make certain kind of mistakes that others could be making. Otherwise, I appreciate you and look forward to seeing you on the other side. Please reach out. Like I said, you can find me on LinkedIn, find me on Facebook, find me everywhere. Just go and Google Coach Samuel Iwanda. You'll be able to access all my links, and then you'll be able to reach to me directly. Otherwise, much appreciated for joining through, and we want to say that God bless you even as we end the session. Bye-bye. We can find the session on YouTube just in case you want to a replay. But again, thank you so much. And I want to just end this for us. Bye.